All right, Coach, how's your summer been? Do anything fun?
I did. Me and my family went to Turks and Caicos.
So that's fun.
That was pretty cool. Heard a lot about the place. Had never been, but that was awesome to go there. Took my kids to Evermore Resort here in Orlando, which I had not heard about, but it's a man-made beach, and it has several different pools. Has a big slide, so that was pretty cool.
What are their ages?
5 and 2.
Oh, then they loved that.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they didn't need to go anywhere.
That was awesome. Because what we have done in the past is go over to Indian Rocks Beach, get an Airbnb, and just spend a few days right before camp. But that was right here in Orlando. My wife found it, and so we went over there, and it was pretty cool.
That sounds pretty good. And I caught up with you a little bit in Las Vegas. All right, so 115-degree heat in Vegas versus 95 in Orlando. Which heat did you prefer?
I tell you what, the heat out there is just so dry because, like, you're walking up and down the strip, you don't even sweat. And it's 115 degrees, almost like an oven. But out here, as soon as you walk out the door, you're just drenching in sweat, man. It's crazy.
Let's talk a little bit of football. Do you guys still do business cards? Do you do printed business cards? Because you got the longest title on this coaching staff.
Yeah, okay. It definitely would not fit.
What is a day in the life of Addison Williams?
Day in the life is, one, dealing with our current players, dealing with recruiting, dealing with Coach Malzahn, and then defensive stuff with Coach Roof. So it's never a dull moment.
What sort of things do you do that are different than what he does?
Than he being
Coach Roof.
Coach Roof, right now we're not into any of the breakdown stuff, but obviously he gets the installs and everything, and now he may come and bounce ideas off about how we're going to play this, how we're going to play that, and kind of put our heads together. But right now we're all just collaboratively working together and saying, okay, we need to install this, we need to install that as a defensive staff. How
did that first season in the Big 12 help you grow professionally as a coach?
Helped me grow just going through different situations, going through the ups and downs. That was a year where I have never been through a year like that as a coach. Like I spoke before, I had a season like that similar as a player my freshman year, but as a coach I had not been through one of those. So just going through the ups and downs definitely made you mature, made you see some things in different ways. So it was definitely a good learning experience for me.
Had to be difficult to watch some of the struggles on defense, especially when you go into a season with high hopes. I mean, you don't anticipate that your run defense is going to be as challenged as it was. What was the biggest bit of adversity that you think your defense faced a year ago?
Obviously, consistently stopping the run. That was the Achilles heel that we couldn't get over consistently. You know, at times we played it well, at times we did not. But that's something that will get fixed over the offseason and have gotten some of it fixed, and we'll be better this year.
Is that partly because of the depth that you had?
I think it's a lot of factors that go into it. It's not just one thing. Obviously, I could have done a better job. We could have done a better job as a staff. And like I say, some of the injuries and some of the depth, moving up in conferences, playing against bigger guys, and just as you get late in the game, sometimes it just didn't work out. But it's a lot of different things that could have been different that played a role into it.
Coach Malzahn said during his address that he wants to work out the growing pains out on the practice field, not on the field during the regular season. Did you see some of those growing pains transitioning from the American to the Big 12?
Well, the biggest difference with the Big 12 and the American was the size and the physicality. Everybody talks about the Big 12 as being a passing league. Well, that has changed. That stigma is no more. It's more of a pro-style league, in my opinion, and you go from a league where you're playing against tight ends that are 6'3", 240. You're playing against tight ends that are 6'6", 260, 270. You had a kid a young man at Texas Tech that was like 6'9", 6'10", 270. So you're playing against bigger guys. Then in the trenches, the offensive line guys, we were able to dominate some of the guys in the American, but now you're going up against bigger guys in our league. And like I say, the depth at times and the injury at times definitely hurt us in some situations.
Let's talk about the secondary. What do you like about it?
I believe this is the most talented group that we've had from top to bottom. Not quite ready to say it's the best group. The season will tell on that, but from a talent standpoint, I think we're deeper than what we have been. And in the past, we have gotten late in the seasons. In the past 3 years, we've got at points late in the season, and injuries start to stack up, and we may not necessarily have our best guys out there, but feel good about the depth that we're building here right now, and I think we'll be in a lot better position this year.
What does Brandon Adams do so well?
His intensity and his ability to play man-to-man coverage. And I say his intensity, just the intensity that he played with, but he also breathes life into a lot of the other guys. When Brandon makes a play, he's a very emotional guy, and it gets everybody else going. And so I think him and his press man and just his intensity is something that he's best at, and that stands out about Brandon.
A guy you think you'll see play on Sundays?
100%, no doubt about it.
That's confidence right there.
Yeah.
What's the impact of not having Demarcus Henderson off the start of the season, perhaps?
DeMar started a lot of games for us last year, and so not having any of your returning starters back is definitely a challenge. But we do have Quad Bullet, who's played a lot of football here. William Wills played a lot of football, not as much on defense, but on special teams. And then you bring in guys like Demarcus Henderson, Sheldon Arnold. You bring in Byron Threats. And so those are guys that have played a lot of football. We also brought in Cedric Hawkins, who was a highly recruited kid from Cocoa, but he has not played a lot of football. But you have Quad that's played a lot of ball, and then you bring in those other three that's played a lot of ball. So I think we're going to be in a good spot even without missing DeMar. But DeMar is a really good player, and the one thing that stood out about him, he's a playmaker. And so you definitely miss that. He's a guy that can create turnovers. So definitely hope he can get back healthy and we can get him back on the field as soon as possible.
Has your approach to the transfer portal changed over the last couple of years? You mentioned a couple of times there, and I've heard it mentioned from other coaches, more experienced guys. So maybe you bring in a guy that was, got a lot of starts at the school he was at previously. So maybe it's not the stars that were attached to their name or the name of the school, but the work product that they put out.
Yeah, I think experience is a big part of it, to be honest with you. But I think we do a great job as well to recruit high school guys. And my biggest thing with the transfer portal is go to it on need basis. And we had a need at safety. We lost one of our starters from last year was hurt. One of our starters went in the portal. So that forced us to go in the portal because you can't fix experience with freshmen. And so that forced us to go in the portal and get some experienced guys and bring them in. And I think they fit in well since they've been here.
One of those new guys, I had an opportunity to speak with Mac McWilliams. He was very eager to show what he can do. What did you see in him that you wanted to bring him in?
One, he was a team captain. Two, he's played a lot of ball. And he's played a lot of ball. He's played the corner position predominantly. He's played some nickel. He's played some safety. And I think that's important, especially as when you start talking about quality depth, guys that can do multiple things. And he's a guy that has shown that he can play at a high level. You turn on the tape, because obviously you'll pull his best plays, but then you go turn on the tape when, especially a guy from a school like a UAB that's a group of five school, you want to see him play against top talent. They played against Georgia. He held his own, so you're like, you know what, this guy here can play. Then you go doing your personal research on him, and I knew some guys that was from the area. One of my former college teammates actually coached him in high school, and so I was able to get some background from him, and I felt like he would be a guy that would fit for us.
What would you say is the identity of this defense? I know it's early on in camp. You still got some weeks to go, but what is emerging as the identity for this year's defense?
We're going to be aggressive. We're going to be an aggressive attacking defense.
I've heard from players that keep talking about blitzing. Do you think you have the personnel to pull off what you're talking about?
We do. We've definitely got some guys at some positions that are playmakers that can get after the quarterback, that have a knack to slip blocks and blitz with the force and the speed that we need them to. So definitely feel good about it.
Coach Malzahn has talked about putting more of his personality into the team and just taking more of a control in that regard. Have you noticed that in the offseason?
Yes, we have. He's definitely a guy full of grit, and he's definitely instilling that into the team a lot more than he has in the past. And not that he had not done it in the past, but I just think, and not just here, but in college football period, everybody was trying to figure out this transfer portal. And, hey, if you're too hard on a guy, he's going to leave. We can't lose this guy and all that good stuff. But he's back to his old ways, not necessarily worried about the transfer portal, guy leaving or not. He's doing what's best for the team overall, and I think we'll be better for it from it.
What does Ted Roof bring to the team?
He's an aggressive guy. He's a wise guy. He's done it a while. He knows what it looked like. He's won a national championship. He's had some of the top defenses in the country. So, again, he knows what it looks like. And I think from our guys' standpoint, with just the aggressiveness and attacking scheme that he's brought in, our guys are really fired up about it. So
fans are concerned that the defense might not be able to, make that step up. What would give them confidence hearing from you that this is a team better positioned defensively than it was a year ago at this time?
Well, the biggest thing is year two in the conference. I think that get lost in the shuffle that you went from a group of five conference to a Power Four conference. And Not to say that, hey, that's an excuse or anything, but that's the reality of it. But I think always, and people talk about it all the time, you make your best jump from game 1 to game 2. You make your best jump from year 1 to year 2. This year 2 in the conference, and our guys, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. And the other thing is they know what to expect now. So I think we'll definitely be better from just that experience standpoint.
40-some new players, and coaches talked about team chemistry and building that family within the team. How much of a challenge is that for each coach on the staff?
It's a huge challenge for us all because you got so many different personalities. But one thing that Coach Malzahn tells us all the time: don't bring knuckleheads in here, and that's something that we take pride in recruiting. And so even though we brought in so many guys, there are a lot of like-minded guys. So I think them gelling makes it that much easier when you're not just bringing in anybody off the street, when you're really vetting guys. Because it's other guys that we could have brought in, but then you see, okay, there's a flaw here, there's an issue there. And not saying that anybody's perfect, but if it's an issue that we feel like, hey, maybe detrimental to the team or detrimental to the locker room, we just won't bring them in.
Who's somebody in the secondary we're not thinking about that you're seeing some things that could make for a special season for that player?
And Swan Jackson.
I've heard his name, right? His name
Yes.
came up a couple times this week, guys mentioned.
Yes, he's done a really good job, and obviously he was a really good player in high school, one of the highest rated kids in the country. Ended up reclassifying, graduating early, went to ECU amongst a plethora of schools that he could have went to. But he's a guy that he's healthy, and I think he's primed for a big year.
What about Sheldon Arnold? How much of a challenge is it, that jump that you make? You saw Jason Johnson make that jump. What kind of jump do you expect to see from him, Sheldon?
Well, Sheldon has played a lot of ball. He's played against some big teams, similar to Matt. Going back and watching the Georgia game with Sheldon, we went back and watched the Mississippi State game from his junior season. And so that's how far we went back on him and seeing how he showed up in that game. And he did some really good things in that game. And that showed us, hey, he can play on the big stage. And he's one that we're expecting big things out of. And another guy that, as Coach talked about, that has a lot of experience, has played a lot of snaps.
A lot of long hours ahead. Still got much of camp to go. But how forward are you looking to this season?
I'm excited about it. Like you say, year 2 in the Big 12, we've definitely done some different things and added guys to our roster that I think can help us, and looking forward to those guys having a good season this year.